Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to join our panel today. Today is this panel and this side event is organized by several organizations, so especially for St. Kitts and Green Club, ICDI and ICDF, and many other organizations. You will see the speaker in the following programs. And this, I think, is a very new experience for us in this special studio for this side event. Now, today we are trying to focus on our issue about the resilience and also climate-centric solution to see if the people from the different kinds of actors and they can participate to join this island-wide or urban community to build up the resilient community. And we are honored to have several distinguished speakers to join the side event in this such short time. The first I would like to introduce the first speaker is Ms. Sharon Rotten, is a permanent secretary, Ministry of Environment and the Cooperative St. Kitts and Nevis. And I would like to allow the time to Ms. Sharon.
Thank you very much. I bid you a pleasant good afternoon to everyone, to my fellow distinguished expert leaders on the panel and our online community. I bring you warm greetings from our beautiful Twin Island Federation. But first, please allow me to convey the government of St. Kitts and Nevis's deepest appreciation for this opportunity to be part of this distinguished panel, to share our perspectives on the need for resilience and growing ambition to support vulnerable urban communities. Today, I will be speaking about the vulnerabilities of St. Kitts and Nevis, particularly in the city center area, namely Basseterre, and why there's an urgent need to build resilience in an integrative manner. Like other coastal cities in small island developing states, Basseterre is especially vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. These impacts include an increase in air temperature, sea level rise, coastal erosion, and an increase in intensity and frequency of tropical storms and changes in our precipitation patterns, which in some cases lead to drought and to others lead to flooding. Without any intervention, the impact of these climate risks will only compound. If I could invite you to close your eyes for a minute and look at an island just surrounded by water, I'm certain you can envision many of them across the world. These impacts have already begun to threaten and will continue to threaten the socioeconomic sectors, such as tourism and manufacturing. Key infrastructure, including our seaports, which are located right in the heart of our city center, the seaport and the airport, let me emphasize, and our fresh water supply. The ocean is an integral part of the economic well-being of St. Kitts and Nevis and that of the country's individual residents. Coral reefs are important tourist attractions and ecosystems supporting the fishing sector on both St. Kitts and Nevis. However, ocean acidification and extreme weather events threaten these ecosystems, negatively impacting the tourism industry and contributing to coastal erosion. I cannot emphasize here how the coastal erosion has affected us, particularly with respect to the storms' direct hits and indirect hits in St. Kitts and Nevis. These risks are compounded by human stressors, including poor waste management and agricultural runoff. Urbanization along guts, those are deep, narrow gullies within the Basseterre city center, further exacerbates the risk of flooding throughout the city. These are just some of the climate risks impacting Basseterre. Ultimately, these risks, when combined with additional economic, social, and environmental stressors, can undermine the security of Basseterre, its people, and businesses. If you ever visit there, you come to Basseterre, it is the pulse. All critical infrastructure is located there. Our ports, both ANC ports, our financial institutions, our hospitals, and other critical facilities. All the government buildings are right in the center. And one of the things I should add is that we have our fuel lines when the boats come. They are also in the center of Bastia. And parts of Bastia is a little below sea level. Faced with limited financial resources and the uncertainty of a post-COVID environment, governments and international financial institutions need tools to help them identify and categorize risk factors across the sectors. This would aid us in the design of climate resilient solutions and access additional climate investment. This is where the CORVI project comes into play. CORVI, as Sally would go into deeply in a few minutes, is a decision support tool developed by Stimson, which will integrate data and information across the land and seascape to produce an innovative climate risk data set and written profile for Bastia. This is what we see as the base of an adaptive and resilient road ahead of us. But we just want to see that the information derived from CORVI can then be used by the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, international financial institutions, and the private sector to aid in the design of holistic urban climate resilience strategy for Bastia. We can prioritize resilience, planning already underway, and unlock additional climate finance. As it is now in Bastia and its environs, I think almost 50% of the population is located. They are migrated, like in other cities, from the urban areas, from the rural, to the urban areas. But we have, because of our size, the congestion, and the informal housing sector in Bastia, located near the coastal area. It's a challenge. At a time when climate ambition is growing and nations seek to dramatically increase their climate adaptation efforts, it is very important that we prioritize investment and build resilience and take action where it matters most. We need to integrate and identify risks, not only from the environmental aspect, but also from the financial and political areas as well. So that means we have to ensure that our governance structures are aligned to protecting Bastia and the survival of the people who live there, and to ensure that the services continue. This holistic understanding can help to drill down to priority actions and aid in the design of resilience strategies and provide confidence to funders and attract additional climate finance to reduce climate risks. Armed with this information, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis and international funders will be able to allocate their resource wisely, make climate-smart adaptation and resilience decisions, and advocate for additional climate investment. Identifying these vulnerabilities and information can also assist the government in taking actions to meet the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and incorporate nature-based solutions into their nationally determined contributions to meet adaptation and mitigation targets. And I can tell you at this time, our Sustainable Development Department, they're pursuing a revitalization of Bastia project. So the CORVI project, the tool will really help us to look at how we are going to redesign the Bastia area in St. Kitts and Nevis. What it also will do is help us in capacity building so that we can replicate this study, because, as I said, the whole island is surrounded by water. We have many towns along the coastline, and we would want to replicate that. But we'll begin with the main city, Bastia, and Charlestown then in Nevis, because that town too is also located on the water. So before I close, we want you to know that the St. Kitts Nevis government, we were very happy to facilitate this side event. We were very happy to share with CORVI, to share with ICDF, and also the Stimson Center in helping us to use this tool. And we want to sincerely thank the Republic of China and Taiwan and the Ocean Affairs Council and the Stimson Center. So I now look forward to a fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mr. Sheraton, for your excellent speech to share the experience and the interesting project about adaptation and the resilient communities. So now I turn to the next speaker is Mr. Eugene Zheng. He's the Director of Research Development and Evaluation Department from Taiwan ICDF. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Lin, for your kind introduction. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Yun Jin from Taiwan ICDF. It's truly my pleasure to be here today. As we have heard from PS written of St. Kitts and Nevis, just like the global push to slow down climate change, we must also help and not forget those who are already through it, especially the small island states. With that, I would like to share with you today how the Taiwan ICDF as an ODA agency is putting focus on integrating climate-centric solutions and adapting them into a real-life practice, especially in cities. Because the small island states like St. Kitts and Nevis are nations that are at the front line of climate change. And I will do this through a project that we have with St. Kitts and Nevis and show how practical investment in the right area can make a real impact to climate change and sustainable economic development. As some of you may new to Taiwan ICDF, I will begin with giving you a short introduction of my organization. The Taiwan ICDF plays key roles in Taiwan's official development aid. We are dedicated to boosting socio-economic development, enhancing human resources, and promoting economic relations with our partner countries through human capital development, financial service, and technical transfer. Our main strategy includes drawing on Taiwan's competitive know-how, responding to partner countries' and international development needs, and integrating public and private sector resources and strengthening partnerships through multilateral means. To fulfill our mission, our area of operation are technical cooperation, humanitarian assistance, international education and training department, lending and investment department, research development and evaluation department. And our six focus are agriculture, ICT, public health, education, environment, and SME development. The reason I'm focusing on seeds as ideas is because seeds are pioneer in fighting climate change. How successful we are in helping them, it will become the indicator of how successful the rest of the world are going to be fighting our own climate change. While seeds have so far been able to limit the spread of COVID-19, they are among the worst hit in economic terms. In 2020, their GDP dropped by 6.9% versus 4.8% in all other developing countries. This is mainly due to impacts on two key factors, coastal tourism and fishery. Although the international community has been extending ODA to help fight the COVID-19 crisis and development aid in seeds, but the important gaps remain. To increase the resilience of seeds, 55% of Taiwan ICDF projects in seeds are agricultural related, followed by environmental projects at 16%. For long-term sustainable development of seeds, we have also invested in the importance of human resources and ICT to ensure the country can adapt well and achieve the goal of progress. To increase our investment in seeds, there are three key considerations that we are working on those adaptive practice projects. First is our partner countries' need, where besides health and social economic response, support must be focused on enhancing the adaptive resilience and sustainability of existing key economic sectors to encourage economic diversification. Two, the key to increase the investment is to lower the known risk. To do this, we must have accurate data that will help us to identify our key risks, and by making them manageable, we will be able to develop new and emerging ocean economy opportunities. Finally, with the outcome-based goal in mind, with the lab project with multiple effects across economic and social areas as our top focus, so that we can achieve a fast and resilient recovery. Here's an example of how Taiwan ICDF assists by adopting the climate-centric investment as a green and sustainable development in practice in St. Kitts and Nevis. We all know that tourists can bring needed income to local communities, but they also create a big impact on environmental and cultural terms, such as pollution and uneven regional development, since most of tourists may stay by a popular coast. To encourage tourists to visit the inner island, the Taiwan ICDF is working with St. Kitts and Nevis government to establish Penis Beach Park as a popular recreation destination for local residents and tourists. The project aims to promote climate-based solutions and encourage the tourism industry to bring the ferry tourists into the inland. This will help to even our island's development in practice, ease the pressure of coastal impact, and also at the same time increase the island's resilience on both climate and economy. Moving forward, Taiwan ICDF will continue to look at a better way to assist our partner countries in adopting a climate-based solution into tangible projects. We have been expanding our cooperation with the like-minded partners, and they are helping us to improve our reach and effectiveness. With the use of innovative climate-based solutions, we can better identify where we should focus to make the most impact against climate change. And from our research, we are very glad to say that we have found a promising tool developed by a Stimson Center that will be able to help us to do that. As you will hear more about our partner regarding to the tool CORVI, I shall stop here. Let me conclude with this. As a development agency, we are here to call for our actions of 4 I's, which is immediate, inclusive, innovative, and incentives. The time is now. We should continue to look for more like-minded partners to work even more together to respond immediately with our climate-based solution. Not only do we need to build back, we must do it better, greener, and more sustainable for our future generation, and include all groups in the development. We should not go about business as usual. We must innovate and adapt them to maximize the final outcome and effectiveness. We must be pragmatic. If there's no gain, not all business will come. We must give incentives, attract more resources, and put into practice the public and private partnerships. Because if we don't succeed in seeds, we think the rest of the world may fail too. I would like to conclude my presentation by sharing with a saying, better to light up one candle than to curse the darkness. We all know climate change will cause generations of damage. Let's light up the candle to fight with it today and together. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Win-Chin, and sharing with us the ICDF's project with in St. Kitts. So trying to promote the economy and the climate resistance together, I think it's quite interesting. Now I would like to introduce the next speaker is Ms. Sally Walzer, is a senior fellow and director of environmental security program from Stimson Center. It's a very important think tank. So now I would like to turn the floor to Sally.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Lin, for that very kind introduction. I am so honored to participate in the valuable discussion today. And I completely agree with Permanent Secretary Rattan and Director Yunqing on the importance of expanding adaptation through nature-based solutions and the need to really build resilience in urban communities, particularly in the small island developing states. Because they are exceedingly vulnerable to climate change that is affecting their sustainable blue economies. These issues are at the heart of Stimson's work on coastal cities, and we are very pleased to be working with the governments of St. Kitts and Nevis and Taiwan to support adaptation solutions in the city of Basseterre and its surrounding area. Today, I will be speaking about CORVI, a climate risk assessment tool, which the Stimson Center developed, and we've heard much about it already from the PS, as she highlighted in her remarks. But I'm going to get into a little more detail because CORVI really is a decision support tool that leaders like the PS who need to make these smart climate investments to address flooding, wastewater problems, sea level rise, and to really improve the overall safety and security of their citizens in cities. So CORVI is designed to really help financial institutions and development programs like Taiwan ICDF so that they too can have the confidence that the funds they are investing for climate adaptation go to the most important priority actions. Currently, CORVI is operating in 8 coastal cities around the world. And what it does is it organizes data and information across the land and the seascape to really provide these decision makers with complex risk picture. Because with the climate emergency here now, they need information so that they can act now. And the PS has given us very detailed insights into the ongoing CORVI assessment in Basseterre. But let me step back, if I could, and give you a broader introduction to CORVI, what it is, the objectives of the project, and how it fits into the 2 key themes at COP26, the need for financial ambition and upscaling adaptation to expose communities who need to act today. So as the leaders are meeting here at COP, every day we hear from scientists and experts about the collision course humanity finds itself facing as the planet warms. Climate change is already causing intensified storms and exposing more and more people to deadly heat and floods. It is killing coral reefs and destroying natural habitats. And as the recent report from the IPCC makes very clear, coastal cities, and particularly those in developing countries, are at the forefront of climate change. A new UNEP report, UNEP report, suggests that 700 million people currently living in coastal cities are at sea level or are vulnerable to sea level rise. And that means they are in trouble. And as cities continue to expand, the climate risks faced by these communities are multiplying. And then when you add the already existing issues around economics, social, and environmental pressures to climate change, we really have a big concern in front of us. So as this infographic shows, increasing temperatures, extreme storms, and sea level rise threaten the physical infrastructure, the natural environment, and the economic security of city residents. Combined, these changes also stress the vital ecosystems upon which millions depend on for fisheries for food and income and protective habitats like mangroves, corals, and seagrasses. And finally, when you think about it, the UN also has estimated that globally 1 billion urban residents live in vulnerable informal settlements, which PS Rattan was telling us about a minute ago, and that these settlements are often prone to flooding. So despite these challenges, climate finance to developing countries is severely lacking. Only 24% of the climate finance from governments and multilateral institutions went to adaptation last year. Luckily, ICDF, Taiwan ICDF, has stepped up to show their support. But overall, globally, we can do better. We must do better. So at Stimson, we developed CORVI to address this challenge and help coastal cities to take action. So what CORVI does, as you can see in this wheel, is it compares ecological, financial, and political risks from 10 risk categories, and we also include nearly 100 risk indicators. That is a lot of risk indicators. And with all of this, we produce a holistic coastal city risk profile or assessment. And these risk indicators, they cover a range, as you can see, including the vulnerability of the vital infrastructure, the health of marine ecosystems, and the urbanization dynamics. So really, they paint a realistic, holistic picture facing cities. And so by considering these cross-cutting impacts of climate change in coastal cities, the CORVI tool assists leaders from governments and development institutions and financial organizations to identify priority areas of action and really target climate finance to build coastal resilience where it is needed most. And we expect to finish this very detailed CORVI assessment for Basseterre in about a year. And then the government will have its clear roadmap for priority actions that can help them unlock badly needed financial resources and build that resilience and adapt to the effects of climate change, which they are already facing. We are currently conducting CORVI in 8 coastal cities across Asia, the Caribbean, East Africa, and the Pacific Islands. And finally, we are pleased to be launching a new CORVI data portal. Over the past year, Stimson has worked with a data analytics firm called Click to develop a virtual platform, which brings all of the CORVI assessments to life. And it makes these assessments much more efficient, and we'll be able to do them more quickly. And it brings the findings really accessible to users and stakeholders all around the globe. So with that, I just want to thank all of you, the UNFCCC, St. Kitts and Nevis, Taiwan ICDF, for really bringing us in and working with us as we move CORVI along and help communities like Basseterre and the islands of St. Kitts and Nevis. So if anyone has any questions, I'm looking forward to our discussion, and please feel free to reach out to me at any point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sally, to introduce very important the CORVI, the tool to help us to assess the risk for the coastal city and vulnerable community. I think it's wonderful. You have made some cases. Now we turn to another speakers. Unfortunately, he won't be here, but we have a pre-recorded video. He's Dr. Jia Chong Chen is the Vice President of National Academy of Marine Research from the Ocean Affairs Council of Taiwan. So now we can watch the video online.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. In the next few minutes, I will quickly go through the topic, applying marine technology in fighting against the climate change from the perspective of Taiwan. I am Jianhong Chen from NAMR, National Academy of Marine Research. First of all, I would like to take a few moments to introduce the new Ministry of Taiwan Government, Ocean Affairs Council, OAC. It was formed in 2018 for coordinating more and more complicated ocean affairs among ministries. It has 3 subordinate agencies, including NAMR, Ocean Conservation Administration, and the Coast Guard Administration. The mission of NAMR is to assist the OAC for many areas, such as marine policy planning, marine resource survey, marine science research, marine frontier industry development, and marine talent cultivation. In addition, it also serves as the think tank for government in various marine policy making and decisions. This year, the Nobel Prize in Physics was awarded to Dr. Manabe and two other scientists for their contribution to understanding global warming. The phenomena of climate change are very much clearer today. The impact is global and complicated. Moreover, islands are most vulnerable because they are surrounded by oceans. Just like St. Kitts and Nevis, Taiwan is also an island country. What happens to St. Kitts and Nevis also happens to Taiwan. Because of the global warming, the wet season becomes wetter and the dry season drier. Typhoons are stronger. Rain is torrential. Flood is severe. Ocean waves are bigger and the coastal regions could be devastated. The sea levels rises, the oxygen content in seawater drastically decreases, and the marine ecosystem could be destroyed. For climate change adaptation, NMR is constructing the National Ocean Database, which covers from the sea surface to the sea bottom around the Taiwan waters. The database consists of three categories: the marine hydrological data, the marine ecosystem data, and the marine geological and the geomorphological data. We keep collecting the marine data and integrating the database available in Taiwan to form a big data system. Based on these data, various forecasting models are developed for different purposes. Some examples are shown here: to plan the coastal land use, to develop the offshore wind power, to protect infrastructure such as coastal highways, to assess the risks of coastal and ocean environments, to make the risk map of coastal disasters, and to manage marine food supplies and biodiversity issues. Switching to the CORVI project in Pasteur, we follow the CORVI methodology and review the literature to develop the assessment on ecological, financial, and political risks. The review information comes from academic literature, government reports, and open data. Some findings are briefly presented here. The ecological risk could escalate due to the climate change. The review shows that the coral reef coverage has declined significantly. The local coastal ecosystem may have undergone drastic changes in recent years. 90 square kilometers of land since 1961 has been lost due to coastal erosion. Hurricanes and storms are the most severe threats to Pasteur. The major financial risk lies in tourism and infrastructure. We know that tourism is highly climate sensitive. The air, land, and sea transportation networks at Pasteur are in good condition. However, the history has shown that they could be partially destroyed after a hurricane of Category 5 swept the country. In the area of political risks, the population of the city grew in the past 10 years and will keep growing. Flood has been a critical concern to the city. Some residential areas should keep a high alert to heavy rain. The review shows that the government takes measures to propose various plans for the adaptation of climate change. It is very nice to know that in St. Kitts and Nevis, the strategies were formed. Through the participation of citizens and stakeholders, no evidence of social injustice is reported in implementing these policies at Bastero. The research is still going on. For the next step, we will collaborate with the Stimson Center and the experts from St. Kitts and Nevis for the survey collection, the data analysis, and finally, we expect to reach some insightful and useful conclusions. Of course, we look forward to expanding the CORVI research at other coastal cities around the world with the Stimson Center and the international exchange on various issues of climate change. This concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chen. I think this St. Kitts case, Nevis case, is quite interesting because it actually is a model. It's combined research institute from Stimson and the National Ocean Council, and also the government, and also the financial institute put together. We try to build up and also help the vulnerable coastal city and community to build up their resilience. Now we move to the next speaker. I think we know the climate change is in transgenerational issues. We need to engage the youth and into the action and discussion. Now I would like to introduce Mr. Jim Lee. He's Taiwan Youth Climate Coalition. He's a TWIC, he's the head of a COP delegation. So you can present what you have done and what you think about the issues. The floor is yours.
Right, thank you, Dr. Lin, for an introduction. So I'm Jimmy Lee from TWIC, and I'm the head of COP26 delegation this year, and I'll be talking some of the youth engagement that we have been doing in both public communication and in the education system. And of course, we truly do believe that youth involvement in climate action and climate issues is such an important fact that I'm really glad that we have such a big group of youth for the past decade who have been actively involved in different environmental issues. So first of the things that we've been doing is collective advocacy, and we were demanding more structured and complete draft related to climate laws and environmental laws from our government. And what we've been doing is we have attended both national and local events such as on an international level, such as COP and COI, where we have been learning and sharing our experience with different youth NGOs around the globe. Locally, we have been going onto the streets and really communicating with the public about what is needed to be improved with the current environmental laws, where under the current environmental laws, although the government is promising a 50%, the government is promising emission reductions, but there's no clear roadmap on how they are going to implement those goals. And through communicating our demands in all different mediums, such as our social media, we are able to reach all different audiences. And we do believe that it is important for us to reach an even bigger audience because this is the issue that all stakeholders should be involved in. And this is not something that only youth NGOs should be worried about. People from different industries, youth from all different industries, no matter if they are working in finance, if they're working in transportation, working in agriculture, food, etc. Everyone needs to come together and look at this issue so together we can find a solution for it. So let's really go back to what I just said, going beyond the echo chamber, and it's really in a three-step process where we are expanding and reaching out to even more people and influencing. And one of the interesting facts that we found through this past event where we had a climate strike on last month, 2 months ago, is that we had invited different stakeholders collectively to present this issue, where we invited non-environmental NGOs, we invited political figures, we invited YouTubers, and we also have a climate expert. And surprisingly, the most response we got and the most reach we got was actually not from a political figure that we may have previously imagined, but instead is from a climate expert, where we are actually able to break that small bubble that we had and to reach out to different target audience and to bring interest to them. So what are some of the solutions of that? Is recently Taiwan had announced that it's going to propose a newest draft as the Climate Change Response Act draft, where officially the 2050 net zero commitment is going to be included in this draft. Although the 2050 commitment is included in this draft, we are still looking for some improvements on this draft. In the future, we definitely hope that there's going to be a clearer roadmap to be included in our law that will tell how different industry and different stakeholders, for example, in transportation and residence hall or in agriculture or in industry, how they are going to make those reductions possible instead of having just one net zero goal. Going towards more about education, education is definitely the foundation of the future generation, where if we want to truly empower the next generation, we have to first educate them. Instead of telling them that you should be worried about the future, instead of telling them, the Amazon is on fire and we're cutting down all trees and making them worried, we should bring them the essential tool they need in order to fix this issue. So we have been walking into classroom, teaching elementary students the science behind climate change, and this really let the student understand how they can make an impact and how they can actually be impacted by the environment and the current issues on a very personal level. Some of the artwork we had, this page shows the students' work, and we can see students were able to actually critically think and present different solutions on how those issues can be addressed. And all those issues doesn't need to be something that is global, but it can be something that impact them personally. And really starting from this point, it is interesting to think, what are the next steps? So as the next generation are now informed, we trust that the next generation have enough tool as future leaders know. The current generation will be future leaders in all different industries, no matter if it's in the field of finance, if they're going to work in politics, and etc. They now have the tool to make a change. So this is why we think that empowering youth and youth involvement in climate actions is such an important deal. And last but not least, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, and we can talk a lot more about our involvement in both public communication and education.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy. I know the youth group is quite active because they come 1 week before the official UNCCC conference to have a CORVI program, so they'll try engage with the issue. Thank you, Jimmy, for making the presentation. Now we move on to the next speaker. Is a young social enterprise we call the Sunny Founder. So I would like to invite the co-founder of this group and also president of Taiwan Green Energy for Charity Association, Hui Ping Phoebe Chen, to make a presentation to share with your view about the energy transition and the community. The floor is yours.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very pleased to come here to share with you what I have been working hard on. As a sociologist, I believe that on the road of energy transition, no one should be left behind, and everyone should be inside, and we together to make the better future. Just as Gandhi said, you must be the change you want to see in the world. Therefore, I want to be the first to action and invite more people to recover the earth. Today, I want to share with you how I and my partners invite more people to join energy transition. Sunny Founder is a social enterprise to promote the popularization of green energy. And Taiwan Green Energy for Charity Association is a nonprofit organization aiming at the promotion of sustainable energy for all. As the green energy participation platform in Taiwan, Sunny Fund provides people with a very simple way to become a citizen power plant partner. Through our platform, you only need to purchase one solar panel and can share the benefits with other participants. Until now, Sunny Fund has become the largest platform of citizen power plant in Taiwan. Therefore, we have been crowdfunded more than 26,000 people participating in the construction of more than 350 solar power plants. And as a result, more than 15 megawatts have been built. In addition to help people to participate in the sharing of green energy, Sunny Fund and Taiwan Green Energy for Charity Association also improve the situation of the disadvantaged groups through the green energy charity model, which combines the donation efforts of enterprises and the public to build a solar power system for the disadvantaged. The biggest difference between the model of green energy of charity model and the traditional donation lies in the fact that green energy charity model can transform one-off donation into one last for 20 years and amplify the original donation amounts by 1.6 times. And next, I want to share with you several stories about the green energy charity model and our projects. This is our first green energy charity project, the SOS Children's Village. In this project, 37 donors helped to construct a 5 kilowatt solar PV system. And we also work with local governments. Together with Pingtung County governments and through crowdfunding, we helped the Pingtung Victory Christian Church completed a 6 kilowatt solar power system. Particularly the first donor of this project was the mayor of the county, who took the lead in setting the best demonstration. And we also cooperate with big companies. From 2017, we had cooperate with the Taiwan Mobile Company, completed a series of green energy charity projects to help 5 social welfare institutions and helping the physical and mentally handicapped. And there are more interesting ways for people to participate in green energy charity. In 2019, we co-sponsored with the Run for Solar Energy project with Lion Technology Company, invite people to plug in with Run for Solar and pick up 100,000 cigarette butts, and which then transformed into donation, and we built this solar PV system for nursing home and caring the elderly. We also joined hands with Citibank Taiwan. With the company and employees' donations, we construct solar PV system for the elderly and disabled care center. We saw the elderly, they have many special energy consumptions. Therefore, bringing solar power to the center will not only help them to save the electricity cost, but also convert the benefits for green energy into social benefits. In 2020, we completed the Light Up BRY Tribe project, which combined cooperation sponsored with the companies and public donations to build a 50 kilowatt solar power system with energy storage facility. Until now, there have been total of 16 enterprises and more than 8,000 people participate in 6 charity projects through Sunny Founder. We had helped more than 2,000 children, the elderly, and physically and mentally disabled. Besides creating green energy sharing economy, we also hope to empower the marginalized groups. For example, this is a mini solar car activity. We do not need effort to explain to the children. Through this game, they can very easily understand that as long as there is sunshine and there is power. To sum up, I hope that everyone should be the power in the road of energy transition. And we hope to leave no one behind on the road of energy transition. It echoes the number 7 of Sustainable Development Goals. Ensure access to affordable, reliable, and sustainable and modern energy for all. Today, I'm here to ask everyone to confront the challenge of global warming and climate change facing us. In the future, I look forward to expanding Sunny Founder's business model and the green energy for charity to other countries and light up the world with green energy. Thank you.
Thank you, Phoebe, for very interesting project to combine this business model for this energy transition project, especially focus on this disadvantaged and vulnerable group. The next, I would like to turn to the next speaker is Gongyue Zhao. He's Executive Director of International Climate Development Institute. He's talking about what's the urban energy transition and climate development project. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, Dr. Lin, and also thanks for the other speakers. It's a pleasure to be here with you, and I learned from your speech a lot. So actually, for this presentation, I would a little bit like combine the speeches presentations above, because we have been talking about through these different approaches using like climate finance, different like solar panel or different initiative to help for climate actions. And in this era, in the past 2 years, we noticed that actually we are doing a lot of things together. We have the climate action emergency. We also encounter the most severe pandemic, COVID-19, in the past few years. And one of the major challenges and also the aspect to solve this is digital transition. And this kind of digital tool is one of the key when we're dealing with a lot of different environmental issues. And also, I think it would be also essential for us to encounter and also to solve the problem for climate action. So in the past few years, ICDI worked with a lot of different partners. We launched the Global Smart Solution Report, and I will introduce this report to you. Okay, so for ICDI, we established in 2015 the year of Paris Agreement and also the year of SDG. And our approach is to see these Sustainable Development Goals within the SDG 13 from the perspective for the climate action. So for instance, if we see the SDG 1 through 13, we see the most vulnerable people in this action, in these environmental changes, what kind of climate risk they encounter, and also what do we have the tool to help them. Or if for the others, we can see also similar approaches. And what can we use in different smart solutions to solve the problem? So in the past few years, as you can see on the screen, we work with different stakeholders, partners, for instance, local government like Italy and the Climate Center in German, Zurich. And also, we also have a lot of different partners from Belmont Forum and ECCT, European Chambers. So we work with them. And the most important thing is to find out a solution for cities, because cities is one of the major challenges we encounter, and also the cities cover 80% the carbon emission. So in the past few years, we work with cities. We launched each year we launch the Global Smart Solution Report. And we also have the Sustainable City Forum in every March. So we invite different cities to submit their solutions using this smart solution to solve the problem like energy efficiency, or to reduce the air pollution, or the other water waste, or the others. And for as the screen shows, last year, we cooperated with Taoyuan city government and within a special approach is called eco-logistics. Because we know that for the transportation emission actually cover like 20% of a lot of the carbon emission. And if we can provide more efficiency for transportation and also logistics, we can probably using this tool to achieve more sustainable city governance. Okay, so in the past few years, we launched the Global Smart Solution Report each year since 2019, because after 2019, we respond to the Bonn commitment for the local action. And for the last 2 years, every year we work with different partners. For instance, Italy, E3, CityNet, WeGo. And very special part is, since last year, we launched, there's an energy transition index in the cities. Okay. So as I mentioned, in the past few years, we launched this Global Smart Solution Report. And as you can see on the screen, we have a lot of different cities submit their solutions from different continents. For instance, for Asia, we have 20 cases in the past and 12 cases this year. And also from different continents, they submit. And as I mentioned, we have the Sustainable City Forum every March. So cities and leaders gather in Taipei, and also last year we have virtual, physically mixed together to invite different city leaders around the world to present their solutions. And as you may see, it would be the most valuable gathering in cities in this sustainable city governance. Okay, so for last year, we launched the local energy governance rating system with ITRI, and which is a very important think tank in Taiwan. And also we cooperate with Italy to launch this index. So we provide different aspects for the city transition for energy, especially for using different tools to improve the energy efficiency and also the renewable energy consumption. And since this year, we will have more detailed index, and it will be a global city index for different cities as a tool. And we welcome different cities to have the feedback for our city energy index. Okay, so for this page, we are currently collecting this, the city solutions for this year. And as I mentioned, we have 12 cities to submit, and we welcome more. If you can see this QR code and try to find out, you can download this, the solution report for the past few years, and also submit your city solutions for this year. And the deadline would be the end of November. Okay, so thank you very much, and we can take the climate action together, and we work together and to make this world better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zhao, to the Executive Director of ICDI to make a presentation, especially about this smart solution report. It has been published for 3 years and try to showcase some sustainable solution of the city. So I think the St. Kitts case maybe is also a good case for this way of to try to incorporate a different idea to make a city more resilient. Now I turn to the next speaker. I would like to introduce an academic institution from National Taiwan University. Is now just starting a project to collaborate with an island states. So trying to combine some research activity and also international collaboration to make the small island state development more resilient and sustainable. Now I would like to introduce the Professor Jia Hong Ho from National Taiwan University to introduce the project.
Thank you, Professor Lin. Good afternoon. I am Jia Hong Ho from National Taiwan University. Here I will be speaking the NTU commitment and action for global change. Right now, we have done a few of the achievements, such as we have international research cooperation based on the water, energy, food necessities. Also, we have cooperated with the NGO for village scale, for scale economic community and sustainability, and also to improve their water qualities. In Uganda, the purpose is to ensure they can have clean water to drink. As we know Tuvalu facing climate change by natural threats such as seawater level rise, also by some impacts on well-being such as groundwater salinization and the shortage of fresh water, shoreline retreats, unstable domestic supply of crop and vegetable, as well as fishing poison. So with this regard, NTU teamed up with several professors from different departments, including in geoscience, environmental engineering, biomedical engineering, ocean geography, and political science. So we propose several projects, including to make sure have the clean water, to build up the hydroponic crop, and the third is to measure the lagoon water quality, also as well as ecosystem. Also, we do a long-term monitor for the change of the environment and the sea level. So we also at NTU we also develop a new water energy technologies. We call it capacity deionization. So it is we call CDI. So CDI is a promising desalination technologies based on the concept of energy device such as supercapacitor, battery. So it's usually highly porous couplings. Compared to the other technologies, it has several advantages, including low energy consumption, easy to use process, no harsh chemical clothing and environmental friendly, and also it can be powered by solar PV, so it can be applied for the distillation or water reclamation. So here is our idea. So we will use the CDI and the water, energy, food nexus. The purpose is to build up off-grid modular energy water systems as a decentralized approach to double resource recover from domain mixed water. So there we have two steps. The first one is to combine biological process and the low energy CDI process, and it can be powered by this solar PV power. Then we can purify domain mixed wastewater for water reclamation and reuse. The second one is we can have the high concentration nutrients to support the hydroponic planting systems. So right now we are building a NTU demo set. So here we will do the long-term monitor. Also, we will build up the water energy systems to prove the concepts. So we believe in the future we will have a very successful case at NTU or in Tuvalu or in the other countries. So thank you. So today is my talk.
Thank you, Professor Ho. Yeah, before I open the floor, I think we have an excellent speech in this panel. I probably open the floor. I have a privilege to have a few questions to Honorable PS and the Sally. So my question is, what's the national adaptation strategy of St. Kitts, and how do you engage youth or these various stakeholders in your plan?
Okay. Well, we do have a climate change strategy. Adaptation we have recognized as we pitch and navigate our way through all of this climate change impact. We are now shifting the dialogue a bit to shape a more adaptive and resilient road, because we were really focused on the mitigative agenda. Yes. And now we recognize that we have to shift our mindset a bit, right, based on what the evidence we see before us in terms of the science and the trends that we are looking at. What we try to do in terms of engagement is work across our ministries, interministerial approach, and we make that effort to go out and engage the experts, the different ministries who are involved. We also engage our citizens, but that is also an area we would like to see improved. I very much like the presentation by your young Jimmy, is his name?
Right.
Yes. We have groups, young groups, who advocate, but we do not see enough strong advocacy coming from them, not as yet, and we would like to get there. Yes, but we do make the effort to engage our citizens, but we would like to see more. Okay, but that is the basic strategy we use, engagement across our ministries. Of course, we do a bit of advocacy from the ministry's perspective, and we try to ply through and get persons involved. Yeah.
So what would be the most impressive during the process, or you can share with us?
Well, it depends on, the passions vary depending on the stakeholder. Right. But in recent times, you have more of tourism getting a bigger voice, because tourism is impacted in so many ways. Our tourism product is impacted in so many ways, and they're very cooperative and they work along with us. Okay, and the sustainable and finance ministries are we work very closely together, especially on the revitalization of the Bastia project. And because now that we have the CORVI project, the Ministry of Sustainable is very involved. I chair the committee, and the Ministry of Sustainable, they are deputy chairs. because it is such an important decision-making tool. And with all the ideas that we have on board, we would like to make sure we do it in an integrated manner. It does not make sense that, you know, the ministry runs with it, and then we have to look back and say, well, where are you sustainable? So we want to keep that integrated approach. Yes?
Thank you. Wonderful. So my question to Sally is, as a top think tank in the world, and so what's your plan to spread or the concept of what you present, the CORVI, and also to attract more attention, especially during this COVID-19 time? You know, lots of government, and though they are shift focus to the pandemic thing. So how do you spread in this issue?
Well, Dr. Lee, very good question. Thank you, and thanks again to all our panelists. So, as I noted, you know, we have 8 CORVI projects now currently around the world in East Africa and the Pacific and the Caribbean, and we are learning as we go. And one of the things we have really learned, and big kudos to the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, is that when we engage the government and get government buy-in right at the beginning, we're able to have a more efficient, integrated, cross-cutting approach. Because the reality of, as we move towards adaptation, we can't look at these issues in a siloed manner anymore. We really have to look at them in the realistic economic, social, environmental issues, and we're very grateful for that. And so how do we build as we go forward? Well, as we come out of COVID, you know, many SIDS and LDCs are strapped financially, and so it's having a tool like CORVI that can really get into the details, into the granular data, because often data doesn't exist. So if we're going to really get that capital, that financial capital, to be put towards specific cities and projects, we need to understand the granular. And with our new data portal, it's now available, very accessible for people to see and use, and we'll be just pushing that out, and we hope many of you all will take a look at it. And then finally, what really makes CORVI unique is when there is no data, instead of just having national or regional data, we do surveys. Right. And we survey we just finished in East Africa, over 100 interviews and surveys into cities to really get with experts to understand and augment the national level down to the city level. So that's what CORVI is all about. It really brings a realistic picture of cities' face so that governments like St. Kitts and Nevis can take this information and then go and do very specific activities to build that adaptation and resilience and take the guesswork out of it.
Okay, you want to add something?
To reiterate that we welcome from Stimson the critical importance of data. Because in our countries, and she ended with the word guesswork, you know, we tend to go on the hunch. Expert A or this person have been doing this for a long time, and we think this is the problem. And what it is forcing us to do at this time is to get a baseline, which can inform what our next steps are, rather than be driven by a conviction-based methodology. So we would have an evidence-based methodology to guide us.
Yeah, it's a wonderful case. Yeah, we covered almost around out of time. Yunqing, you want to add a few more about what's the future prospect about the project going on?
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Lin. And it's our pleasure to work with Stimson Center and the government of St. Kitts and Nevis as our very firm partners all over the world. And the reason Taiwan ICDF as an ODA agency invest in CORVI is just because of the accurate data we can get, and then they will help us to invest our limited resource in the right place. This is very important to Taiwan ICDF as an ODA agency, because all we know that our resources is really limited. If we do not have a science-based research and data, then we might lose the purpose of using it. So that's a very important reason we invest in it. And then in the future, we hope to work with the Stimson Center and our like-minded partners to unlock the global green finance based on these very functional tools. And then I think will help Taiwan ICDF to connect to the international resources as well with our like-minded partners. Thank you.
Okay, because time constraints, so I have to close the excellent speech in this panel. And thank you, St. Kitts, Ness, and all the participants, and also the virtual participants to join this panel. My name is Zilun Lin, is the president of ICDI, also a professor and the director of SDG Lab. Thank you for joining this, and wish the success for this COP. Thank you so much. Thank you.